Have you ever wondered where puppy stores and certain breeders get their dogs? When looking into the puppy's eyes you are about to give a forever home to, you probably don't think about the terror it has gone through or its medical conditions. According to Dog is My Co-Pilot, 70% of purebred dogs come from puppy mills. In case you are unsure what exactly a puppy mill is, it is a factory-style breeding facility where dogs' health and well-being don't come first. The main goal is money. Throughout my speech, you will be hearing the reasons I think puppy mills should be illegal, what I find the best solution to be, and how it will affect America in the future if solved or unsolved. Whether you have a dog from the shelter, a purebred dog, or don't have a dog at all, the speech I'm going to give will provide you with the information that is important for you now and in the future. Starting high school, I became a volunteer at the Miami-Dade Animal Shelter. Walking around, I saw at least 400 dogs who were in small cages, scared and alone. I knew I needed to help this issue, and that is when I started a nonprofit rescue, Lucky Mice. We saved about 25 dogs from the shelter throughout my time in high school. Before starting this, I did a lot of research on dogs and learned about why this many dogs don't have homes. This is still a true passion of mine today, and plan to continue this once I graduate college. The problem with puppy mills is that they breed dogs with no sense of humanity, leaving them in trauma, bad health issues, and overpopulating America with dogs. The solution that I am proposing is to stop all large company breeders by adding a limit to the amount of dogs they can have each year. If this solution happens, we can hope to see a country with no dogs on the streets and empty shelters. The problem is that puppy mills breed dogs with no sense of humanity, and their only goal is money. This leaves dogs with health issues and traumatized. There are many issues with breeding dogs aside from the fact that they are producing more when so many already need homes. The first issue is how puppy mills use their female dogs to produce puppies as long as they can and then destroy them when done, according to CAPS. The dogs are also kept in horrible living conditions and extremely small cages, so the mills have room to produce the maximum amount that they can. Because of this, it is easy to contract different diseases and sicknesses. A testimony from a previous pet store employee with Relove Animals spoke about the experience she got while working. She discussed many issues with the pet store, like the way they lie on the USDA reports and how never to tell customers that the dogs are from puppy mills. My family always had purebred dogs throughout my time growing up at home. Every dog we've had has passed away from a type of cancer or sickness before the age of 6. For the first time ever, we got a dog from the shelter, and he is now 8. This is not a coincidence. According to the National Canine Cancer Foundation, because of overbreeding, dogs have different gene mutations that can change their defense towards tumor cells. This will never come to an end unless the beginning issue is addressed, which are the puppy mills. Until then, dogs will continue to suffer, humans will be losing their dogs at young ages, and the overpopulation of dogs in America will continue. Although this issue sounds too big to be fixed, there is a solution that is pretty simple with the help of humans. The solution I am proposing is to stop all large corporation breeding by adding a limit to the amount of dogs that they can have in a year. This will eventually help get stray dogs into homes and give people the healthy dogs that they are exposed to that aren't exposed to trauma, diseases, and cancers. According to the Humane Society of the United States, in 1966, a law was passed limiting the amount of dogs breeders can have and requiring licenses. There are many loopholes in this depending on how they sell their dogs from the puppy mills. The HSUS agrees with me that this law needs to be more defined and strict. The Dutch Review talks about how the Netherlands became the first country with no stray dogs. The way they did it was raising the taxes on store-bought dogs, giving people a reason to adopt homeless dogs from the shelters. This basically ran most puppy stores out of business. Many people's arguments against non-purebred dogs is that they aren't hypoallergenic. Although it is true that you can't ensure a dog from the shelter is 100% hypoallergenic unless you do a genetic test, there are many breed-specific recipes that do. Also, The solution I'm proposing doesn't completely stop breeding, which means you can still get a hyperallergenic dog. This change is going to take time, since this country first needs to understand what goes on behind the scenes of breeding, and then they can take action. If the solution I gave happens, we can hope to see changes soon and eventually see a future like the Netherlands. In the next 10 to 20 years, if change doesn't happen, you can expect to see America with stray dogs flooding the streets. More dogs will have illnesses and die at younger ages, since the purebred dog's genes will continue mutating and bad cells will arise. If we stop all large corporation breeding, we will see shelters empty out and only breed dogs for necessary things, like service dogs and allergies. A story in the UF peer review on how to fight puppy mills has a section where the writer talked about his experience visiting a puppy mill. He took live footage that he said was too hard to even look back on. He saw things that he never thought were legal and just wanted to help these dogs. After hearing this speech, you might wonder, what can you do to help? According to Save Them All, what you can do to help is volunteer at an animal shelter, adopt your next dog, or write a letter to legislators. The problem of puppy mills breeding dogs just for money needs to stop. The solution is to limit the amount of dogs these breeders can have, allowing dogs to get the care they deserve. I hope that in the future, America will be able to say it is a no stray dog country. I have always had a passion for dogs. While working at the shelter, I couldn't stand hearing a dog has to be put down again because they are at capacity. That is why I'm educating you about this issue, so hopefully you can help too. I hope for the future where dogs aren't being created just so others can be euthanized. Do you guys have any questions? Yeah.
You mentioned about hyperallergenic and service dogs, and you did point out that that could be part of the limits when there is breeding. But what about canine dogs?
Yeah, so like I said, breeding is going to be able to still happen with my solution that I'm proposing. So whatever breeding, I said hyperallergenic dogs as an example, and I said service dogs as an example, but yeah, canine dogs and working dogs will also be included in my solution to allow breeding to continue with those specifics. Yeah.
So one of the issues that I've often heard is that dogs that come out of the shelters tend to be aggressive. How common or rare is that?
Dogs being aggressive out of the shelters, yes, it does happen, but most of the time, sorry, there's beeping, I guess the windows are open, but I guess most of the time that dogs come out of the shelters, they always test them before. That's when I volunteered at the shelter. They would test the dogs' aggressions before to see if they're get along with other dogs or if they get along with little kids. You can always bring even if you already have your own dog at home, you could bring that in to do a dog test with. So it just depends on what kind of dog you have, but most of the time you can always test to see if they're aggressive before you adopt it. Yes.
So you mentioned that oftentimes the dogs in shelters are put down to make room for new shelter dogs. I'm kind of curious. Do you know how many dogs are put down either in a year or what percentage of dogs they get put down?
Well, at least at Miami-Dade Animal Shelter, which is a kill shelter, they get put down until they need to make more room for dogs. So if it's the holidays, they're usually not at capacity, so not as many dogs are being put down. But if it's a busy time where a lot of dogs aren't getting adopted, they put down the dogs that have been there the longest and haven't gotten adopted. Average is 3 months usually. Thank you.